On a cold night in San Francisco, little Mia, just 9 years old, wanders the streets with an empty stomach and bare feet. When she takes shelter behind an upscale cafe to escape the biting wind, she finds something unlikely. A shiny black credit card lying next to $1 million receipt. The name on the card? Charles H. Ellington, one of the richest men in the city. Curious, Mia tries to discover her worth, without imagining that that piece of plastic would involve her in a web of dangerous secrets and choices that would change her life forever. San Francisco, California. Streets lit by yellowish lamps, mixing the glamour of luxurious buildings with the harsh reality of alleys full of makeshift stalls. Mia, a little girl with disheveled hair and a tired look, walked slowly, hugging a dirty blanket that barely warmed her. She stopped in front of a glass coffee shop, watching well-dressed customers laugh around tables piled high with sweets and hot drinks. His stomach growled loudly. Afraid of being expelled, she walked away to a side alley where she noticed something shining on the ground. Curious, she knelt down and picked up the object. An elegant credit card with gold letters engraving the name Charles H. Ellington. His eyes sparkled with surprise and whispering. Intrigued, he said, "Could this help me?" Hesitation dominated her. Despite living on the street, I knew it belonged to someone else, but hunger overcame her. He went into a convenience store, testing his card to buy a simple sandwich and water. Market cashier, surprised, checking the system. "This card, is it unlimited?" Mia didn't understand what that meant, but she smiled as she held the snack. It was the first decent meal in days. She left the market without realizing that she had been captured by the local cameras. At the Ellington mansion, a discreet alarm was raised. Millionaire's advisor on the phone with a serious tone. "Mr. Ellington, your card has been used. A strange purchase, only $5, but the location." The millionaire, a cold and calculating man, leaned on the leather chair in his office with a low, suspicious voice. "Who would be foolish enough to use my card like that?" That same night, Mia discovered something unexpected. The card worked, and no one seemed to question her about using it. Without understanding the magnitude of his discovery, he began using the card to buy small things, a pair of shoes, simple clothes, and even a new blanket. She didn't yet know that with each transaction, she attracted more attention from the real owner. Meanwhile, Charles Ellington, realizing that the amount spent was insignificant, became intrigued. Charles tells his advisor with an ironic smile, "Whoever has the card doesn't appear to be a common thief. Let's wait. I want to know who this person is and why they spend like someone who has nothing." Mia, with her little treasure, decided to help others like her. The following night, he bought food and delivered it to a group of street children. One of them, Max, a 12-year-old boy with a suspicious look, looked at her with his deep, suspicious voice and said, "Where did you get so much money from, Mia?" Mia, with a low voice, hesitantly says, "It's not money. It's a card I found on the floor. I just want to help everyone." Max was silent, but something in him changed. For the first time, he saw Mia as someone who had hoped to change things, even in such a cruel world. Meanwhile, Charles ordered cameras to track the places where the card was used. Advisor nervously showing images on tablet. "Sir, we found who is using your card. It's a child." Charles widened his eyes, surprised and with a cold but intrigued voice. A child? Interesting, I want to know everything about her. Where does she live? Who are her parents? However, when she saw the video of Mia delivering food to the other children, something changed in her face. He saw more than a thief. He saw the hunger, the sadness, and the solidarity in her expression. Charles, whispering to himself thoughtfully, "Why is she doing this?" Mia continued to use the card cautiously, but Max's suspicion made her uneasy. She decided to make one last purchase before abandoning her card forever. A bus ticket to a place where she could start over. That same night, as Mia was preparing to leave San Francisco, a black car with tinted windows pulled up alongside her. A man in a suit came down, tall and imposing, with an indecipherable expression. Looking at Mia in a serious but curious voice, he says, "You have something that belongs to me, girl." Mia froze, holding the bag where she kept the card. With her voice stuttering and terrified, she said, I didn't want to steal. I just wanted to eat." Mia stood still, eyes wide. The man in front of him exuded power and authority, but to her surprise, he didn't grab her or scream. Instead, Charles Ellington crouches down to the girl's level, observing her curiously, and with a calm but firm tone, he says, "There's no need to be afraid. I just want to know why you used my card." Mia hesitated, her hands shaking as she held the bag. Hunger, fear, and shame consumed her. With a low, choked, trembling voice, almost crying, he replied, I was hungry. I found the card on the floor and I just wanted to eat. Then I thought, maybe I could help others like me." Charles was silent, surprised by her honesty. He expected an excuse or an attempt to escape, but what he found was raw sincerity mixed with a look that reminded him of something he had long tried to forget, his own difficult childhood. And with a softer but still inquisitive tone, he says, "Did you know that this could get you in serious trouble?" Mia lowers her gaze, embarrassed. "I knew, but I thought no one would notice. I was going to return it, I swear." At that moment, Max appeared, watching from afar. He noticed the man in the suit and Mia's scared expression. He decided to intervene, positioning himself next to her. Max, with a defiant tone, shouts, "Hey, if you're going to do something with her, it has to go through me first." Charles raised his eyebrows, surprised by the boy's boldness. He gave a short, almost amused laugh and stood up. Charles says to Max with the intrigued tone, "And you? Are you going to protect someone who clearly used something that wasn't theirs?" Max speaks in a firm voice. "If she used it, it was because the world didn't give us a choice. Who needs that much money anyway?" Max's answer made him reflect. Charles took a step back, facing the two. There was something different about these boys, a spirit he hadn't encountered in a long time. Suddenly, Charles' tone changed completely. With an enigmatic tone, he says, "Very good, you two come with me." Mia, scared, taking a step back, says, "What? No, I'm not going." Charles, interrupting with a serious tone, says, "It's not an option. Do you want to start over? Do you really want to help others? So trust me." Max held Mia's hand, signaling her to wait. Despite their distrust, the two got into the car, apprehensive about what would come next. Inside the luxury car, Mia and Max remained tense while Charles watched them in the rearview mirror. The silence was suffocating until Charles, in a serious tone, broke the stillness and spoke. "You have courage, I must admit, but courage without direction can be dangerous. Max couldn't hold back his indignation. With a defiant tone, he says, "And you? He has so much money that he didn't even realize when he lost his card. I bet you never had to worry about being hungry or cold." Charles smiled, but his gaze darkened. In a calm but firm tone, he says, "Do you think I was born with all this? That my life was easy? It's wrong. I grew up in a place not unlike what you call home. But I learned something that you need to understand. The world will not give you anything for free." The limousine stopped in front of a majestic building. Charles took them to the top of his penthouse with a panoramic view of the city. Mia and Max were stunned by the luxury around them, but they didn't let their guard down. Mia, with some hesitation, says, "Why did you bring us here?" Charles walked over to a bookshelf and pulled out a photo album. He opened it to a page that showed a thin child wearing worn-out clothes in an alley that looked as cold as the one Mia knew. He speaks in a low voice, full of restrained emotion. "That was me. I grew up with nothing, just like you. But someone gave me a chance, and now I want to offer the same to you." Max and Mia exchanged confused looks, and Max said suspiciously, "And what do you get out of it?" Charles, smiling and being sincere, says, "Maybe nothing. But I believe that if you have an opportunity, you can do something that no one else expects." In the days that followed, Charles took Mia and Max under his wing. He enrolled them in a school and took them to learn about social initiatives to help other homeless children. However, not everything was easy. Max, with his rebellious spirit, often wondered if he was being manipulated. Max, speaking to Mia in a low voice, "What if he just wants to use us to look good?" Pensive but hopeful, Mia says, "Maybe he's just trying to give us what he never had." Over time, the two began to see that Charles was not the cold man he appeared to be. He challenged them to think big, to fight for what they believed in. And Mia, in particular, began to dream of creating a shelter for street children, a place where no one would go hungry or cold. Charles, one day, looking at Mia with a proud smile, says, "That dream you have can become real, but are you willing to work for it?" Mia nodded firmly and spoke with determination. "Yes, I want to help others like you helped us." Max, despite being reluctant, began to participate more actively in Mia's plans. He also realized that, for the first time, he had the chance to change his story. It was a gala night in San Francisco. Charles had organized a charity event to raise funds for the new children's shelter, the project that Mia and Max designed together. The hall was full of business people, philanthropists, and reporters. For Mia, it was surreal to be there, dressed in elegant clothes, speaking about her ideas. Mia on the microphone with a firm but emotionally charged voice. "When I found Mr. Ellington's card, I didn't know what wealth meant. For me, it was just a way to not feel hungry. Today, I understand that real wealth is being able to help other people." The audience gave a standing ovation, moved by his story. Among the crowd, Charles watched with a rare smile of pride. Max was next to her, adjusting the microphone when he noticed something strange. A man in the audience seemed nervous, gesturing suspiciously. Suddenly, the event was interrupted by an alarm. The police raided the place, revealing that they had received an anonymous tip. Someone claimed that Mia and Max were involved in a fraud and theft scheme. Policeman with a firm voice to Mia, "Miss, we need to talk. There are charges against you." Mia froze, feeling all eyes on her. Max advanced, irritated and shouting, furious. "That's a lie! Who did this?" Charles Ellington quickly approached, protecting the two, and calmly but authoritatively he says, "This is a misunderstanding. These young people are the reason we are here today. I won't allow them to ruin everything without proof." As the police officers argued, Mia noticed something, the nervous man in the audience. He hurried away, trying to avoid the confusion. Without thinking, she ran after him with Max and Charles close behind. Mia says, shouting, "Wait, why are you doing this?" In the alley behind the salon, the man tried to escape but was cornered by Charles. After a fight and having nowhere to run, he revealed the truth. He was a rival businessman of Charles, who wanted to tarnish the event's reputation. When the police arrived, the man was arrested, and Charles with Mia and Max returned to the salon, exhausted but relieved. Charles takes the stage, hugging Mia and Max. With a look of pride at Mia and Max, smiling, he says, "I knew you guys would do something big, but this was beyond my expectations." The charity event ended with an unexpected success. Mia and Max's story, from life on the streets to facing the saboteur, deeply touched the guests. Donations exceeded all expectations, ensuring the start of the shelter for street children. In the days that followed, Mia's story made headlines. From little beggar to inspiration for the city, she has become a symbol of resilience and hope. At the opening of the shelter, Mia made a point of keeping the focus on the children who would be welcomed there. The name of the space was simple but meaningful: Dream House. Mia in her inauguration speech, emotional. "This house is not about me, nor about Charles, nor about Max. It is about everyone who needs to believe that they can start over. True wealth lies in not giving up on others." Max, beside her, was more serene than ever. For the first time, he believed in a future where he didn't have to fight alone. Max jokingly, but with a sincere smile, says, "And who knew it all started with a lost card?" Charles Ellington watched from afar, avoiding attracting attention. For him, seeing Mia and Max find their way was enough. When Mia saw him in the distance, she ran down and hugged him unexpectedly. With tears in her eyes, she says, "Thanks for everything." Charles smiled and ruffled her hair as a gesture of affection. Being calm, but with a fatherly tone, he says, "Just don't forget, now it's up to you. Make it count." 10 years later, San Francisco looked different to Mia. Now 19 years old, she walked the corridors of Dream House, watching children laughing, drawing, and even studying in the colorful rooms. The shelter had become more than she imagined, a network that welcomed homeless children from across the city. Max, now 22 years old, was one of those responsible for the space. He taught computer classes to young people and, in his free time, studied to study engineering. Max with a smile as he adjusts a computer for one of the children. "Hey, don't ruin it, huh? This is expensive." The child laughed, and Mia watched that moment with pride. Meanwhile, Charles Ellington, now with less direct involvement in the shelter, followed everything from afar. He had created a permanent fund to finance the initiative, but he never forgot what he learned from Mia and Max. One day, during a meeting with businessmen at his mansion, Charles paused, looking at a photo of Mia, Max, and the children at the shelter. He smiled slightly to himself and says, "Sometimes the greatest investment is not in what you earn, but in what you leave for others." That same day, Mia received a mysterious letter at the shelter. It was a letter from Charles that said, "Mia, the world is still hard, but you have proven that you can face it. The responsibility is in your hands now. Never lose courage. Whenever you need me, I will be here." Mia treasured the letter, promising herself that she would continue to honor what she had learned. In Dream House, we can now see the children playing in the garden, their laughter echoing through the space. The little beggar who one day found a card not only changed her own life, but also those of many others. This journey of Mia and Max teaches us that even the most unexpected encounters can transform lives. A simple lost credit card became the beginning of a story of overcoming, solidarity, and change. And you? What would you do if you had the chance to change not only your life, but the lives of other people around you? Small actions can create big impacts. Leave your comment below. What was the most exciting part of this story for you? Do you believe you would have made the same decisions as Mia? We want to hear your opinion. It is very important to us. If this story touched your heart, share it with your friends and family. Maybe someone needs this inspiration today. And don't forget to subscribe to our Kollobe Inspired Stories channel for more stories like this, full of emotion, overcoming and learning. Thank you for following us here. Your presence makes all the difference in strengthening our channel. We'll meet you in the next video with another story to touch your heart. Until then,